Hey guys, I'm Jesse from the YouTube channel Jesse the Reader, and today I'm bringing you a bit of a recap and also a breakdown of important information of things that go down in the book A Map of Days by Ransom Riggs. If you didn't know, the next book in this series is coming out in January, and it's going to be called The Conference of the Birds. The book is set to be released on January 14th, and there's this awesome pre-order campaign that's currently running for this book. You can get your hands on an exclusive personal photo selected by Ransom Riggs, and also this super cool luggage tag. To enter this pre-order campaign, all you have to do is pre-order the book and then submit your receipt. The campaign will end on January 13th, 2020, and it's open to all US residents, no international entries, unfortunately. Also, there's going to be a book tour for the Conference of Birds, and those tour dates can be found on penguinteen.com. So, to prepare you guys for the next book, I am here to bring you a list of vital information that goes down in A Map of Days. And guys, if you have not read this book, we are going to be diving into spoiler territory. Like, I'm basically going to tell you all the important things that happen in this book. If you have not read this book, go read it. Go read it and get prepared for the Conference of Birds. If you have read this book and you just need a refresher before the Conference of Birds, let me help you out. So, without further ado, here are some important things that you should remember about A Map of Days before going into the Conference of Birds. Number one, the Peculiars have had their eternal clocks reset, and they'll now get older one day at a time. Jacob has decided that he is going to wipe the memory of his parents because they don't vibe well with the Peculiars, and by that I mean they kind of freaked out when they saw the Peculiars, so wipity. This is pretty sad though, because Jacob was hoping that he was going to be able to bridge these two different lives together, his peculiar life and his real life. Number two, when they visit Abe's old house, they find a hidden room underneath it, and it's basically like a survival room, or like a safe room. That's kind of what it feels like anyway. Here they find an operations log, and they find out that Abe was doing more than hunting down hollows. He was also saving peculiar children. Number three, this next one is one that I feel like could be brought up again, which is why I wanted to mention it, but Miss Peregrine drops a bit of a bomb, and that's this idea that when a loop collapses, nobody knows what actually happens to the people that were in that loop. Which brings us back to Call and Bentham. Uh-oh. So basically what you're telling me here is that we can't confirm if they're dead or not. Great. What could this possibly lead to? I want to be done with them. Number four, Jacob and Emma go to meet H. H was a fellow hollow hunter and worked alongside Abe. He has them go through a bit of a job interview, though in the moment they don't realize that it's a job interview. It's not till after they fight this hollow that they find out that the hollow was actually H's pet. But hey, they passed their job interview, so there's that, I guess. H gives them this mission to deliver all these packages, though they don't know what the packages are or what's inside of them. Talk about sketchy. And yet they're gonna go with it. Number five, Jacob, Emma, Enoch, Bronwyn, and Millard all take on this mission together. They're looking for their first location, which is the Flaming Man. They end up taking a car that they found in Abe's secret lair. I'm just gonna call it his secret lair because that's basically what it is. But Jacob is a little confused when he finds out that the car is registered under the name Gandhi. Number six, they have some car trouble, but thanks to this peculiar named Paul, they end up making it to the loop. Paul explains that they're not the first ones to have car trouble, especially in this area, and that often weird things like that happened. Smells sketchy to me. They meet Miss Billy, who is kind of the manager of the loop, but she almost has a stroke when the kids ask her if she's the Embrin of the loop. Come to find out, Embrins are very rare in America, and this guy named Rex comes by the loop every few weeks and winds the loop clock. They deliver the first package to Miss Billy, and they're kind of surprised to find that in the package was just dog treats for Mrs. Billy's dogs. So much for an important delivery mission. In this loop, they meet some peculiars that kind of fill them in on some weird things that happen, specifically about how there are people who try to lure these out-of-town peculiars into their little traps, and then they sell them to these awful highwaymen. Which, speaking of highwaymen, before they get out of this loop, they have quite a bit of a run-in with some highwaymen. It involves melting guns, jacking up a car, and Miss Billy's giant dogs. But our crew makes it out alive and heads to Portal, Georgia with Paul. Number seven, they make it to the next loop in Portal, Georgia. Here they meet a lot of different peculiars and they end up having dinner with them. And at this dinner, they talk about this guy named Gandhi. And when they show Jacob a picture of Gandhi, he quickly realizes that that's his grandfather. Gandhi was the cover-up name that Abe used. They also had two other pictures of two other people. One of them was H, whom we've already met, and the other picture is of a girl named V who worked alongside Gandhi as well. Miss Annie, who is one of the oldest peculiars in this loop, showed up to dinner, and she reveals how a society was created to plot against peculiars and kill off Embrins. She also mentioned the fact that there was rumor of a few Embrins still being alive in America, but most of them had been wiped out. Now in the 20th century, while that society has kind of died down, different loops began to turn on each other. They give Annie the package, and Annie gives Jacob the details for his next location, and they end up heading to Brooklyn. Number 8, we've got some major relationship drama going down. Enoch reveals revealed that Emma was on the phone with somebody and she was saying I love you to that somebody, and how that somebody was probably most likely Abe. Of course this makes Jacob pretty angry, but it also puts him in this really uncomfortable situation because obviously the guy that she was talking to was his grandfather, and it just goes back to that super awkward, uncomfortable love triangle we've got going. Number 9. They end up going to the school in Brooklyn after staying the night in this peculiar hotel. Before going to the school, they learned that there was this mysterious blackout that happened there, and so they decide to investigate. After a situation involving zombie cats, thanks a lot Enoch, and also being chased by the principal, they decide to book it out of there. Millard reveals that he ended up meeting with this girl named Lily, and he even talked to her and whatnot, which he literally risked it all by talking to her because of the fact that he's invisible. Even though she's blind, she revealed later on that she can see enough to tell that he was invisible. She ends up being best friends with Noor, who is the girl responsible for the blackout, so the peculiars all reveal themselves to this girl named Lily, and she takes them to meet Noor. Number 10, we meet Noor. Now, Noor's character is going to be a pretty vital part in the rest of the series, I think, and we'll get to what I mean by that soon. But basically, she can eat light. That's the simplest way to put it. Unfortunately, their meeting does not go well, like at all, because Jacob and their crew were followed to the location of where Noor is, and now they're in big trouble. Number 11, they end up out of that messy situation for just a little bit. It's going to get a little bit more chaotic in a bit, just hang on in there. Now they have to take a detour to the hospital for Bronwyn because she was hit with a dart. But on the way there, they get sidetracked by this cafe, which is very similar to the mermaid fantasy land that they almost got trapped into. But unlike that situation where they got out of it, they get fully trapped into this cafe situation. They end up in this peculiar auction of sorts, but that gets shut down pretty quickly, and they are taken by these people through a new loop. Number 12, we've got Mr. Leo, the guy that nobody wants to mess with. I don't want to mess with Leo. He's intense. He reads off all these charges of crimes that Jacob and the peculiars have committed: trespassing, resisting arrest, kidnapping an uncontested peculiar, and lying about their identity. So because of all of this, they're basically put in a jail cell. When Leo is talking to Jacob, he makes these big claims about his grandfather, how Gandhi was this kidnapping monster and kidnapped Leo's goddaughter. Leo decides that since he didn't get the chance to kill Gandhi, he is now going to kill Jacob instead. But before that ends up happening, Miss Peregrine shows up to the party. With Miss Peregrine's help and also the help of Miss Billy, who is actually Leo's sister, Leo decides to let them go. The only thing is that they had to leave Noor behind. Number 13, we finally get some vital information about American loops from Miss Peregrine. She's very mad at the kids, but she's like, you know what? I need to explain this to you guys so you realize the situation and you won't do this again. Basically, America is badly divided. There are 3 different factions. We've got the Five Boroughs clan, the Invisible Hand, and the Californios. There's already major tension between these 3 factions, and now with what the peculiars did, it could potentially set off a war. Hopefully it won't, but it could. Miss Peregrine feels like she can't trust the kids, and Jacob still desperately wants to go after Noor and save her. Sadly, everyone kind of turns their back on Jacob. Number 14, Jacob has decided to reach out to H. Jacob calls him up, and H is like, haha, you're funny, you're not getting involved anymore. But does Jacob listen to that? As if. So Jacob sets off to track down H, and when he finds H, H is nearly dead. Noor is with him, but she's huddled up in this sleep state due to some sleep dust. Number 15, in the final portion of this video, some very important information was revealed as H was dying. We learn more about Noor, how she is one of 7 whose coming was foretold. Her birth signals the arrival of a new age, a very dangerous one. A very old and secretive society of normals who want to subvert and control peculiars is hunting her down. H tells Jacob to take her to V. Before H dies, Jacob is able to get the information about his grandfather and if his grandfather was truly a kidnapper. H reveals that they had been tricked. They thought that they were saving these kids, but the society of normals had tricked them. H ends up passing on in a rather gruesome way, I would say. He basically lets his hollow Horatio feed on him. Horatio ends up dropping from the building, and I can only assume that he died, but before he did that, he had a message for Jacob. His final words to Jacob was, "The one you seek is the heart of the storm." Who knows what that means? So Jacob and Noor are now setting off to find V. Alright, that's all I have for you guys. Obviously, I could not cover everything that happens in this book, but that's the most vital information that I could remember. I hope I'm not missing anything. You guys should let me know down below in the comments your favorite moment from A Map of Days. We'd love to hear from you guys. Don't forget to check out the pre-order campaign for the Conference of Birds, and also don't forget to check out the tour dates that have just been launched on penguinteen.com. That's all I've got for you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!